Hi everyone, so you should be in the 1.1 to 1.3 note packet that I give out in class, and on the second page that's where this video starts. We're going to hit it out of the ballpark today, aren't we? So today we're going to be talking about evaluating algebraic expressions. So in class we talked about an expression as something that doesn't have an equal sign and that we simplify or we evaluate. An algebraic expression is going to have a variable in it because when we talk about algebra, we deal with lots of variables. So when we evaluate an expression, that just means find the value. So we substitute some numbers in for the value for the variables, and we find the value. Now, there's one big, really important rule. This is one of Coach Fred's really important rules. If you plug in a negative number into the expression, if you plug in a negative number, you must, and I stress the word must, put it in parentheses. So parentheses. There's my symbol for parentheses. Okay, so let's look at an example. So here it says, if A equals 1, B equals 2, and C equals 3, evaluate the following. All right, so I have 2. There's that times sign, parentheses B plus 2. So I'm going to substitute the 2 in for the B right here. So 2 times 2 plus 2. Now, order of operations says I have to do everything in those parentheses first, so it becomes 2 times 4, which gives me 8. And then I box my answer. So I have evaluated, meaning I found the value when B was 2. All right, example 2. A plus B is in parentheses plus C, so we substitute. They're both all positive, so we don't have to use parentheses. So 1 plus 2 plus 3. So 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 3 gives me 6. All right, so I know you've done this before, so this should seem pretty easy, but they are going to start to get harder. Now we've got multiple parentheses, multiple variables, and throw in some subtraction here. All right, so x is 2 and z is 4. It wants us to evaluate the following. Again, I don't have any values that are negative, so I don't have to worry about parentheses. But right here, 3z, making sure we know that means 3 times z. So 3 times 4 minus 4 times 2. Oops, wrong place. 4 times 2. Okay, so when there's no sign there, we have to remember it means 3 times z and 4 times x. All right, so 3 times 4 gives me 12, 4 times 2 gives me 8, and I want to subtract them. And that's going to give me an answer of 4. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to try B and C as try nows. So press pause and try them, and I'm going to have some of you present those in class tomorrow. All right, we're going to move on. We're going to throw in some geometry, because remember, we call this integrated algebra, so that means we do both. So hopefully you're familiar with this figure. It's called a rectangle. A rectangle has 4 sides, and the opposite sides are equal. In geometry, we have a name for that. We say that they are congruent, and we use a symbol that looks like that. It looks like an equal sign, but it's got this squiggle above it, which is like the approximate side. So when things are equal or congruent with figures, we can give them these really nice little hash marks, like that. So if I put 1 hash mark here and 1 hash mark here, it means that these 2 sides are equal. You may have seen those before. And if I want the other sides to be congruent, well, I can't use 1 hash mark because that would mean that these 2 are equal, and they're not. So I would use 2 hash marks. So that's a rectangle. It has 4 sides, opposite sides are congruent, and it has 4 right angles. And in geometry, we use this cool little box in the corners to indicate right angles. So that box tells me it is a right angle. All right. So let's talk about perimeter and area of a rectangle. So perimeter, like if I said to you, I want you to walk the perimeter of the building, that means everything all the way around it, okay? So all the sides added up. All the sides added up. And the area is everything inside the figure. If I was going to carpet the floor that's a rectangle, or I was going to paint the wall, I'd be painting the area. So everything inside it. Again, pretend like I'm painting. If I was painting, I'd be painting everything inside it. All right, so if you think about area and perimeter, we can actually solve problems using and the idea of evaluating to solve some problems. So it says if the length of a rectangle is 10 and the width is 3, find the area and the perimeter of the figure. Okay, so here is a rectangle. I always want to draw a figure if they don't give me one and label what I have. So it says the length, which is always the longer side, is 10 and the width is 3. All right, so I can say that opposite side is 10 and opposite side is 3. And so then I can add them all up to get the perimeter, because perimeter is all the sides added up. So 10 plus 10 is 20, and 3 plus 3 is 6, so the perimeter would be 26. Where the area, to find the area, you do the length times the width. So this is where we evaluate. So the length is 10, so L is 10, W is 3. We evaluate by plugging those values in or substituting them in for L and W. So the area would be 10 times 3, which is 30. One thing, and we're going to talk more about that this year, when we talk about area, the units are always squared. So this would be 30 units squared. So we have a perimeter of 26 and an area of 30 units squared. And that's how we can evaluate using geometry. Do you understand it all? Okay, so we started the year working on proper order of operations. So let's put it all together. So I gave you a problem, 4 times 5 divided by 3 squared plus 1 minus 1. All right, so let's remember proper order of operations is GEM-DOS. And remember, we want it to look like a tornado. So we want each step to be shown and work our way down until we get all the way to the bottom. All right, so first I'm going to go to my grouping symbols. Within my grouping symbols, I have exponents that I have to do first. So I have 4 times 5 divided by 9 plus 1 minus 1. All right, I'm still within those parentheses, so I'm going to do 4 times 5 divided by 9 plus 1 is 10. Now I can get rid of the parentheses, minus 1. Okay, now multiplication and division, I work left to right. So multiplication comes first, which is going to give me 20 divided by 10 minus 1. Then I move on to the division. So 20 divided by 10 is 2, and then 2 minus 1 gives me 1. And there's my answer. Remember, working vertically and down step by step like a tornado. All right, so let's evaluate some harder ones. So now these I gave you, they're evaluate, but now you might see I got some negatives here. And remember, our rule with negatives is if we're going to plug a value in, we always put it in parentheses. Okay, so looking at A, I have 5y minus 3. So it wants me to evaluate each expression, meaning find the value. So I'm going to substitute negative 4 in for y. Notice I put it in parentheses. Then I'm going to do, this is multiplication, so 5 times negative 4 gives me negative 20 minus 3. Okay, so now I see that they're both negative numbers, so my answer is going to be more negative. So it's negative 20 minus 3, which is going to give me negative 23. Now you may have forgotten some of the rules with integers, so if you have, this would be a good time for you to come and see me for help, because I am expecting you to understand how to add and subtract positive and negative numbers at this point. All right, let's try this next one. Again, anytime we put a negative number in, we put it in parentheses. Now I'm going to have double sets of parentheses because I have negative 4 minus 3. All right, well, negative 4 minus 3 gives me negative 7. Okay, be careful. This isn't multiplication. Remember, this is subtraction. And then 5 times negative 7 gives me negative 35. Okay, we're going to do one more, and then you're going to try 2. All right, so I've got lots of variables here. I have 9, I have x, I have z, I have y. So I have 9 times 3, z times y, there's that negative I'm going to put in parentheses, minus negative 6. Woo, that's a lot of parentheses going on right there. All right, so I'm going to go to the parentheses first. So I have 9 times 3 times 5 times negative 4 is negative 20. Then I have a negative times a negative right here, which becomes positive 6. All right, got to keep going. 9 times 3, and then negative 20 plus 6 gives me negative 14. All right, yucky. So now I have 27 times negative 14. Now, this is a really good time to practice that mental math we were talking about, but if not, grab that calculator, and I'm going to do it mentally. I'm going to do 27 times 10, which is 270, and it's negative. And then 27 times 4, which is, let's see, 108. And that's negative as well. So my answer would be negative 378. Hopefully I got that right. All right, guys, I want you to try D and E. And I'm going to ask you to present one tomorrow in class. All right, guys, have a great night.